Hello everyone, welcome to yet another episode of PlayStation Pursuit. I want to apologize first of all that this backdrop has stayed pretty much the same since the beginning of the show. My game room is still kind of a mess. I'm trying to reorganize stuff as I sell things. Once pretty much everything's sold that I want to sell, I'm going to actually be reorganizing the room into a new fashion where there's definitely going to be a specific area dedicated to the PlayStation. Not just the games, but playing PlayStation games and other PlayStation stuff I may acquire that's not actual games themselves. So that's going to change. Thank you for sticking with the show while I've been filming it in this format where I'm really close to the camera and there's just these same games behind me. I changed up a little bit and putting Crash Bandicoot up there and stuff, but it will be going somewhere further in the future. So stick around. I got a cool episode for you guys today. Got some cool pickups, and I'm excited to show them. So stay tuned. I said stay tuned again. Motherfucker. Okay, so last weekend, my good buddy Johnny Lake came out to Syracuse because he was looking for a game that he saw at one of our local Voltage video games here in Syracuse. So he wanted to come out from Gloversville, New York, where he's from, and we made two stops. One to Voltage video games to find the game he wanted, and then we stopped at J Street Games in the mall, which J Street I don't think I've ever had in a Sprite Lovers episode in the past, but and you probably won't because it's in our mall. I won't ever put footage or anything, but I have gone there a couple times since they've opened, and I wanted to check their PlayStation supply. So I'm actually going to start with what I got from J Street, even though they were the second stop we made, just because they were some cheap common games, and well, one is a replacement for a game I had. So I had this game in Greatest Hits, and so far I haven't counted Greatest Hits games on the total number that you see. So I have a copy in Greatest Hits. I'm waiting till I get the Black Label version to add it to the collection, and then after I complete the full set, then I'm going to go for the Greatest Hits versions and any other variants and stuff like that. Now I will get some Greatest Hits versions here and there, but that's not my priority right away. So this was one that I had Greatest Hits actually since high school, and I decided to get this Black Label because it was only like $1 or $2, and that is the first Jet Moto. And I actually really like this game. I would like to see this series brought back on PS4. I think it'd be cool if they did some sort of reboot with it, because it wasn't the best game back in the day, but it's a very PlayStation-centric franchise. It has a lot of memories of PS1, so I think it would evoke a lot of that classic feeling for a lot of people if they remade it. Now, this one I could tell was a budget title when it came out because it has a specific border that other games on the PlayStation share that were part of a budget series, and it's just card games. So this was another one that was in the sports section where they had all their $1 and $2 games. So I figured I'd pick this up because this is one that, even though it's a budget title and it's looks like a common, I've never seen this cover before. So I was like, you know what? It's a game I've never seen, and even though it's so cheap and everything, I might as well pick that up now. So glad to have that one in there. And then this one I've seen at multiple stores in the past, and I've always wanted to check it out. It's an RPG, but this was under the value I've ever seen at any other store, so I only got it for a few bucks and thought I'd pick it up. And that is Guardians Crusade. So pretty cool to have that in the collection. So moving on from J Street, we like I said, we went to Voltage Video Games. I traded in some stuff that I wasn't going to sell because it was really not worth it. It was only things that were worth like $1 or $2. But once again, I traded enough in that I got a decent amount of trade credit in the store to get some games that I really wanted. So it was a good way to turn around some stuff that trying to sell these individually. They were like loose GBA carts and loose Genesis carts, like the stuff that's like the worst to sell loose. Obviously, some of the better Genesis games I kept aside to sell separately because if it's a game that's well known, like I had Toe Jam and Earl, that one I'm gonna sell separately with the cart. But if it's just some game with a ripped label that I'm only gonna get $1 or $2 for, I'm never gonna sell it with a ripped label. So I turned it into trade credit. So first game I'm going to show, I say I'm not buying too many Greatest Hits, but there's a reason why I got this one. So I have yet to find this game in Black Label, and I don't know if it was a long box game. I haven't done the research yet to see if it was a long box game in Black Label and then they did the Greatest Hits, but this is a variation. In fact, they had the other Greatest Hits I've seen before, and this one was slightly different. Let me see if there's a something I can show you from one of the greatest hits. So, a lot of greatest hits, like this game right here, Lost World, have like dark greatest hits text behind the word PlayStation. But this one actually has lighter text, and I have a couple other games in greatest hits that have the lighter text. So that was the first thing that made it look different than the other one, and it had the different greatest hits. But it also had this gold shiny cover, and the game is Tetris Plus. And this shiny Tetris thing, and actually the art itself, is different than the other greatest hits one I've seen, and then I'm assuming the Black Label one as well. So I picked this up because I've never seen this version of it, and I figure I always see the other version, Greatest Hits, so I'll get that sometime, and then if I can find the Black Label, that'll be the next one I want to look for. So kind of cool. Disc is pure black, so we'll see if there are, when I do find those other ones, I'll be able to compare them in a little more detail. So the next game I got is a relatively cheaper game that I see quite a bit, but it looks like it's starting to go up because it used to be under $10, and then I started to see it go over $10. But I did find it at Voltage for, I believe it was $7. And again, I used the trade credit to get this, and it's Spider the video game. And what's cool about this game is that it's I believe it's side-scrolling, but it's fully 3D, so it's like a 2.5 dimensional game. Cool red disc there, and it says it's made by Take-Two Interactive. I believe they were one of the original creators of Grand Theft Auto and stuff. Maybe publisher, I'm not sure. But it seems like a game up my alley. I love games where you're something small in a larger world, whether you're a toy or a spider, or etc. A little tiny thing in a bigger world where, things that are normally small to us are bigger. I always like that concept. So wanted to get this for a while. Pretty cool to pick this up for a couple bucks. And like I said, it was under the value I usually see it for. The next one is a game that I have on the Dreamcast, and it's superior on the Dreamcast, but because I'm going for the full PS1, it's important that I get this version, and that is Street Fighter Alpha 3. I really love this game. I don't know how the PlayStation port compares to the Dreamcast one, but I just something about Street Fighter Alpha 3, I always loved it. We got really loud booming sound effects and voiceovers, and it's just, the animation's really cool and everything, so definitely excited about that one. I have a couple more I'll show off, but why don't I talk about some favorites before that, so stick around. Okay, so for this episode, I'm actually going to talk about 3 Squaresoft RPGs. So if you're not as big into RPGs, you might not enjoy this section, but I implore you to listen to what I have to say about each of them anyway, just to kind of see what kind of texture I can provide to what each of these games experienced. These are pretty well known. I'm pretty sure everybody's heard of these 3, or at least 2 out of the 3. So I'm going to start with the maybe lesser known one. The game is called Vagrant Story. Now, first thing about this game, with any RPG, story is key, but the storytelling in this is what I felt was so innovative at the time. So, the way, just the opening I'm going to use as an example. The opening of this game, the way it builds suspense, introduces the characters, but also intermittently puts in gameplay sections to keep you engaged with the game, is just one of the most tightly woven intros of any game I've ever played. It drew me in so much when I played this, and it's helped partially by the fact that the graphics are top notch for the PlayStation, but it also has a very cinematic feel, almost blending the best things about the film industry, but also graphic novels and comic books, because the text is still in text bubbles, just like most RPGs pre-voice acting. But they have this really cool style that matches the art style of the game, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It just really feels like you're watching almost like a motion comic, but then it's got camera angles like a movie would have, and really cool transitions to the credits being interwoven in the beginning. So it just really, right out the gate, started off as such an awesome intro. And I remember one time, back in the day when I played this, I was so impressed by it. And I have a friend who's really into movies and stuff. He likes games too, but he always had a problem with the PlayStation 1's graphics. Even back then, he's like, they're too gross for me. And I get that, it is chunky and pixelated and stuff. But I remember trying to show him the intro to this, and I thought, being that he's into film and storytelling, that he would at least be able to appreciate the storytelling of it, and he was just so like, why are the textures all warped and stuff, and I'm just like, it frustrated me so much that I had to mention it. But I thought the graphics were impressive at the time. And another really cool thing is that the sound effects, even though there wasn't voice acting, the sound effects were fantastic. So the characters in the intro and the full game, when they're moving around and stuff, it sounds like their armor is kind of clanging around on them, and their footsteps sound different depending on what their armored footwear is and the floor they're in, if it's stone or marble, or I guess they're both stone. But it just, the sound design was fantastic, and even like cloth, and when they turn around quickly, there's like the sounds of them turning around, and at the time it was mind-blowing. The combat is kind of a mix of turn-based and real-time, because you go up to an enemy you want to hit, and you hit the attack button, and it gives you this like spherical grid and lets you pick the body parts if they're in that grid, and then you can target the different body parts, and there's different weaknesses, and as you get spells and other cool moves to add to your arsenal, like, you can really mix and match the combat really well. I thought it was awesome. The combination of graphics, storytelling, and dungeon design were just so cool at the time, and I still think they hold up to this day. And I actually I believe I don't have the manual for this. Yeah, I got the demo disc in here, and the disc itself, which has some cool symbol on it. But I do need the manual, so if anybody has a manual for this game, let me know. I am definitely in search of it. But fantastic RPG. Came out later on, I believe it was 2000, so later in the PlayStation's life. Just such a testament to how good Squaresoft was back in the day on PS1. Check it out. Now, I have extremely fond memories of playing this RPG on my PS1. The setting and the music are two of the reasons why this just will always stick with me in my memory. Even though I've never finished the game, I did make it to the second disc, but I never finished this game. And I really want to go back and play it because it was just so awesome at the time. And for me, I didn't have any preconceived notions that many other might have had. This is in a very popular series of 2 RPGs. This is the second one. And a lot of people compare this to the first one and don't like this, but I played this first, played the first game in this series, loved it, and I did beat that one, but never beat this one, even though I played it first. But I didn't really have anything to compare it to other than just being a great game when I first played it, and that is Chrono Cross. So obviously, let's get it out of the way. Chrono Trigger is one of the best RPGs of all time. Really pushed the Super Nintendo graphically and storytelling. I mean, just for the time, it was amazing. But Chrono Cross was pretty cool for me because, like I mentioned earlier, the setting was like so unique. I mean, it's got this like tropical vibe when it starts out, and then the forests have just such a mystical feel to them. I mean, I really think the soundtrack, it was Yasuhori Mitsuda, I think is his full name. I might be butchering that, but I love his soundtracks. He did Xenogears and Xenoblade Chronicles on the Wii. Is another fantastic soundtrack by him. And this game, I really think the music and the environments together just made such an awesome experience. Now, where this game suffers is that other than the main characters, main villain, those characters are very well developed. But this game had so many characters that you could swap in and out of your party that I think it kind of was a detriment to the game because the rest of the characters, they weren't as well developed. But the dialogue was great, and when you did have different members in your party, there would be different reactions. So like I said, I never beat it once, but maybe if you replayed it with New Game Plus, that it would be interesting to see what other people say. And it makes different choices you make can have different people join your party or not throughout the game. So there is a little replayability to it. And but I really think that the music, the towns. Now, I'm a big town person in RPGs. I love a world that is built with great texture and world building through its townsfolk and non-playable characters. If I can walk up to townsfolk and just learn stuff about the town, and the music is great and fits the environment, it sells me on an RPG right away, and this just was so good at those things. So world building and everything is fantastic. If you compare it to Chrono Trigger and you're a huge fan, you might not like it as much. I think over the years this game has gotten more hate, because when it came out it was like top notch. It got great reviews from all the publications. Everybody was talking about about it. All my friends and I loved it, and then now I hear more bad things about it. So I don't buy it. I'm sorry. This is one of my favorite games of all time. One of the best games on the PS1. If you don't have it, it's not an expensive game. I know Squaresoft's website had a sale around Christmas time, a huge clearance sale. A lot of people got this game sealed. It was the greatest hits version, I think, but they got it sealed around Christmas time because they still had it on the site really cheap. So you can find this everywhere. Awesome game. I implore you to check it out. Okay, we all know that Final Fantasy VII was a groundbreaking game. Just amazing to see what that game represented for bringing JRPGs into the spotlight, because there were great JRPGs before, but boy did it popularize it in America. But and then 9, you know, that was kind of like a return to form for Final Fantasy. Great characters, probably some of the best characters in the series, and it's a fantastic game in its own right. But I'm going to talk about the black sheep of the PlayStation era ones, and that is Final Fantasy VIII. So, right off the bat, this game is flawed compared to the other two PlayStation Final Fantasies and the series as a whole. A lot of people hate this game. I still love it. I just feel that you have to play this a little differently. Gone are the days where you have to grind out as you're fighting enemies so you get stronger. Because as you grind in this, some enemies get stronger. The main enemies weren't a problem, but as you get further in the game, the summons in this game, you have to defeat them first. And I remember the first time I played through this game, I got stuck on one of the summons. They're called Guardian Forces. He just destroyed me. It was because I had been building up my party strength for a while. So I took a break from it, and when I replayed it, maybe like a year later, I was in high school, and playing it through the second time, I just played through. I enjoyed exploring, fought guys as I saw them, and didn't really try to grind my way through it. And then I didn't have the same challenges. Now, I still naturally leveled up as I played, so there was challenge, but it never was beyond what I could handle or too easy. It was really perfect. So I think if you're going to play this game, just play it through, enjoy the story world and everything, and then just fight as you go. Don't overdo it. You can still customize your characters and stuff with magic and everything, but that's another flaw of the game, is that to get magic in this game, you have to draw it from your enemies. Now, I played this game with a strategy guide back in the day, so I didn't really think about it, but as the power went out, so the light bulb blew in the middle of me recording this, so that was kind of weird, but I'm going to keep going with this. So I was mentioning the magic. As you play through, you have to draw the magic from the enemies that you find. And I was playing with a strategy guide back in the day, so it probably, as such a big flaw that is, compared to the way you get magic in all the other games, I probably would have noticed it more, but I didn't. And not enough talking about the flaws of this game, because I still love this game. I love it more than some of the other games that are probably better games in the series, but I still love this more. The first thing I want to say is that the world is just so varied. It was so cool how from Final Fantasy VII, 7's really cool because it still feels like an old school one, Final Fantasy in the way it plays. You know, the backgrounds being static give this like feel of a two-dimensional RPG, even though the characters were in 3D and you can move in 3D space a little more. It was still very similar to an old school RPG, and that's why I love the PS1 era versions. But the characters obviously still look super deformed and stuff, especially in 7. This one, they made them realistic for the first time, and I think they did it with great success. It looked awesome, it was beautiful, and I have very, very fond memories of playing this game, the demo of this game, before it came out. And what's pretty cool is they gave you these characters, I believe were in the demo, maybe another one, and some of the characters, this one right here, you don't see in the actual game until later than the scene that the demo was made of. So it was kind of cool that they crafted this demo that kind of gave you a taste of some other characters that weren't going to be there yet. And also it showed off one of the summons in the game, Leviathan. And at the time, the graphics were so mind-blowing for PS1. I was like, wow, it was just such a cool summon, which they all did back in the PlayStation era. The summons were just showpieces. And they kind of were a little long-winded, but anyway, it was really cool, though, seeing that in the demo. And then yeah, I played the game, and some of my other favorite things about this are the towns. Like I mentioned, I love towns and RPGs, and the towns in this are just so awesome. The opening area in the game is like a college, almost, but it's like a battle college, and it's just such a unique environment, and the soundtrack for that area is just so memorable. It sticks in my mind all the time when I think of this game. And the world where the story takes you and stuff, you see and do so much unique stuff, and accompanied by fantastic music. I mean, Fisherman's Horizon, if you don't like that song, I don't know what to tell you. And this game added some cool innovations with more cinematic scenes going on where you could actually move around while there was like full motion video going on. It was just really impressive at the time. 4 discs long, they had to do that to fit in all the full motion video. But the game looks beautiful for the time, and soundtrack is amazing to boot. Characters, I'm going to say, I love the characters in this, but the main character here, he is truly what everybody attributes to Cloud from Final Fantasy VII. Cloud, if you really go back and play Final Fantasy VII, he is kind of jovial at times. He makes sarcastic humor, and it isn't until the end of the game when he finds out some very important things about his life that would make anyone depressed does he become that emo character. Before that, he's a tough guy in the beginning. Then he kind of lightens up a little bit, but he's always got this resolve, like, I'm going to fight for what's right. But then later in the game, he gets, but it makes sense in the context of the story. And this guy's just a bummer. It takes a long time for him to become a likable character. But the other characters, the side characters, they're funny, they're memorable. I really like them, and I like the villainess, who has some plot twists to it. And the plot goes really crazy. I'm not going to deny it, but most JRPGs have really weird plots, and at the time, it didn't bother me. It didn't deter from me enjoying this game so much. So I wanted to talk about this one because it's the lesser-loved Final Fantasy on the system, but I still think it's a fantastic game. So if you haven't played this one, check it out, and play it with an open mind, like I'm talking about. Don't try to go in and play it like you play the other RPGs in the series. Just go in and enjoy the world. Walk around, explore, talk to people, interact with the environment. That's where you can get a lot of enjoyment from this game, so check it out. Okay, so that was 3 more of my favorite PlayStation 1 games, and now I'm going to continue with the last 3 pickups from the Voltage trade. This one I'm really happy to get. Always wanted to have this version of it for PS1. Love the series, and that is Diablo. Awesome condition, and it's got the 2-player co-op, and I've always loved that disc. It's really cool because it looks like the hand from the beast over here, or the El Diablo over here, so it's really cool. This next one is an RPG that is by Namco, and it's 2-disc, has really cool disc art. I can't wait to show that off, but I've never played it, so I'm looking forward to seeing it, and that is Dragon Valor. That disc just has such really awesome artwork. The purples look really fantastic. Almost looks like it's textured, but it's a flat disc, so really cool. Has a manual on that side, and then the other disc has a couple dragons duking it out. So, dragon-themed RPG. Don't know how it stacks up compared to other PS1 RPGs, but PS1 RPGs are among my favorite RPGs, so I can't wait to try it out. And then, keeping with the dragon theme, these are 3 games that I actually already have at Black Label. But there's a cool collector's edition that I have here that is going up in price, and this is the only series on PlayStation that has a box set like this, but it's definitely going up. So let me open it up and show you the case first. It's in fantastic shape. That is the Spyro the Dragon Collector's Edition, and it has Spyro, Ripto's Rage, and Spyro Year of the Dragon, so the 3 Spyro games. Like I said, I have them already, and you'll notice that the discs, or the cases rather, have white spines, so they're white label games, and I don't know, yeah, it looks like the discs say Collector's Edition on them too, so it's truly a variant of every sense of the word. The discs, the case, and of course the box goes around it. It has a really cool spine showing all 3 of the names there. I believe there's a Tomb Raider set like this, Grand Theft Auto set, there's a set that has like some kids games, I don't know if it's Disney or something, and then there's a James Bond one that I know for sure. Might be more than that, but I haven't done a lot of that research yet, because I'm still starting with this collection here. So this was the last pickup for this episode. I'm very happy to have that. It's just a really cool looking box set, and I can't wait to hunt down the other ones too, so I can get all of the cool box sets that they had for those. So yeah, I'm going to tally up the games for this week, so stick around and I will tell you the total in a second. Okay, drum roll. So The total I'm up to now is 316 games. Now, I didn't count the Spyro games because I already have them on the shelf that I've counted before. These are variants. But I have 316 unique titles for the PS1 so far. So that's the number for this week. And I'm looking forward to seeing what games I can get in the next few episodes. So once again, thank you for watching. Stick around for more episodes and let me know what you think of the series so far. I'm really enjoying doing it. So take care.